We have to introduce the Mukaday.
Yes, the Mukaday, the Japanese giant centipede, Scolopendra subspinipes.
Talk about Suyu. The rainy season, June and July.
The humidity, and I mean inside the house, hits 100%. House begins to digest your belongings.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So many of us have this really romantic vision of Japanese dream, right? You see it online all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
It's that 100-year-old traditional farmhouse, the Kaminka.
Yep. The dark wooden beams, tatami mats, the whole thing. It's a beautiful aesthetic.
It's an absolute dream. But the source material we're looking at today, well, it paints a very, very different picture.
It does. It's less of a dream and more of a warning. Our sources basically argue that when you buy that traditional charm, you are functionally buying a trap.
And that's our mission for this deep dive, to unpack that brutal reality that's hiding behind the beautiful shoji screens.
That's right.
We're really framing this around a core conflict. The beautiful traditional Kaminka, which the source calls a luxury wooden tent,
A luxury wooden tent.
versus the boring, maybe ugly, but completely functional modern house, the plastic fortress.
And that whole conflict, it really all comes down to one single fundamental flaw in the traditional design.
Its relationship with the outside world.
Exactly. The lack of airtightness. You know, these old houses, especially the derelict ones they call akiya, they have a serious engineering problem.
Which is where we have to talk about something called the C value. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, the C value, it's just a measurement of air leakage. It's how big the gaps are in a house.
Right. And in a modern home, you want that number to be tiny. You know, maybe 1.0, 0.5. Basically, you want it sealed.
So what's the C value for a traditional Kaminka?
Well, this is the thing. The sources describe it as being practically infinite.
Practically infinite. That's not just leaky, that means it's fundamentally open. So what does that actually mean for the person living there?
It means, first of all, your heating and cooling bills are a nightmare. You're just conditioning air for the whole neighborhood. But the bigger thing, the really critical thing, is that you are, for all intents and purposes, living outdoors.
You've invited nature inside.
You haven't just invited it, you've given it a key.
And that brings us to the core thesis of this whole critique. In a house like that, you are not the owner. You're just a guest. The real owners, the ones who truly thrive in that environment, they're your roommates.
And this is where the fun really begins.
Let's start with the first one. The roommate that the source treats with, I would say, a mixture of pure terror and maybe a little respect. We have to introduce the Mukaday.
Yes, the Mukaday, the Japanese giant centipede, Scolopendra subspinipes.
And the description is just, it's incredible.
Yeah.
6 inches long, black armor, orange legs, and, quote, a face made of hatred.
A face made of hatred. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. This isn't just some bug.
No, this is what the source calls the biomechanical tank.
And it earns that name. It is the absolute apex predator of the soggy floorboards. It thrives in those dark, damp spaces under the house. That's its kingdom.
But it's the aggression that's truly terrifying.
That's the part that gets me. Most bugs, you know, they run away from you.
Right.
The Mukaday runs at you.
Wait, really? It actually charges you.
The sources claim it does, yeah. Because it doesn't see you as a predator to escape. It sees you as an intruder in its territory. Remember, you're living in its house.
And if it gets to you?
The bite injects a neurotoxin. The feeling is described as like being stabbed with a hot needle.
I just can't imagine. And this all comes back to that infinite C value, that leaky structure.
It's all connected. The engineering flaw means there is no barrier. These things have full access to everywhere.
The sources mentioned waking up with one on your pillow.
On your pillow. Or just, you know, patrolling the tatami mat next to your head. It's doing its nightly security sweep of its own territory.
I think for me, that's it. That's the deal breaker. The idea of a 6-inch venomous roommate making rounds while I sleep.
And that's just the ground forces. The source has a whole military analogy going. The tank is just one part of the problem. You also have to deal with the Air Force.
Right. The Gokiburi, the Japanese cockroach. But we need to be really clear here. If you're picturing the kind of roach you'd see in, like New York or London, you're thinking about the wrong animal.
Totally different beast. Those are ground troops. They scurry, they stick to the floor.
So what's different about the Japanese variety?
They can fly. And not just, you know, flutter. We're talking sustained directed flight. The source calls them air superiority fighters.
That is horrifying. So you go from something hiding under the fridge to something dive bombing your head.
Exactly. The source describes walking into your kitchen at night, flipping on the light, and having a black attack helicopter launch itself from a top shelf straight at your face.
And again, it's the house's fault. Those beautiful sliding shoji screens.
They're not sealed, they can't be. By design, they have gaps to let them slide. And those gaps are basically open hangars for the Air Force.
So you're just fighting a losing battle.
It's a numbers game you can never win. Your fortress has no roof.
So we've got the ground-based tank and the airborne threat. But there's a third remain. And this one is maybe the most insidious. It's not an animal.
No, it's atmospheric. It's the climate itself.
We have to talk about Tsuyu. The rainy season, June and July.
This is the moment of truth for any Kaminka owner. The humidity, and I mean inside the house, hits 100%.
100%. So you're living inside a cloud.
You're living in a terrarium. And the house, which is made of organic materials, wood, paper, straw, it starts to react to that moisture. The source says the house begins to digest your belongings.
That's an amazing phrase, digest your belongings. What does that look like?
It's kind of an alien invasion. The sources give these really vivid examples, like you open your closet and your expensive leather jacket has turned green.
Green from mold.
Completely green with mold. Or your nice shoes have grown fuzzy.
Oh, no.
It's biomass breakdown. The forest outside, which looks so beautiful, is actively trying to reclaim your stuff. It sees your Gucci loafers, as the source puts it, as just more organic matter to decompose.
So the mold is just eating your investment pieces.
Silently. Constantly. You have no defense because the house has no skill.
Okay, so just to recap. You're being hunted by venomous centipedes, dive bombed by flying roaches, and your clothes are being actively digested by mold.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, after going through all that, the source material comes to a very human conclusion.
A total surrender.
Yes, you've abandoned Zen, you abandon history, and all you want in the entire world is to live in a Tupperware container.
Their hermetically sealed fortress. The modern solution. The Tateyuri.
Exactly, the mass-produced home. The kind of house built by companies like Ida Group or Hajime Construction.
The ones that get criticized for looking boring or generic.
But functionally, they are the answer. They are the antidote to every single problem we've just discussed.
They are the pragmatic response to the trauma of finding a centipede on your pillow. It all starts from the ground up.
The foundation.
It's absolutely key. Instead of sitting on rocks with damp soil underneath, the modern house is built on a solid concrete mat foundation, a single slab.
And there's a rubberized packing involved too, right, to seal the joint.
Exactly. And that move, that one piece of engineering, completely cuts the connection between the earth and the house. The source describes it as making the house essentially a submarine on land.
That's a perfect analogy. The tank is locked out, the centipedes can't get in from below anymore.
Their ecosystem is gone. And then you add in modern insulation and, this is crucial, a 24-hour ventilation system with filters.
So you're not just passively accepting 100% humidity. You're actively fighting it. You're circulating the air, filtering out the mold spores.
You're in control. You can open your closet in the middle of the rainy season and your leather jacket is still black. The atmospheric threat is neutralized by technology.
The result is, it's a total victory. The centipedes bounce off the siding, the flying roaches can't find an open hanger, the mold can't get a foothold.
And you get to live in a boring, maybe slightly plastic-smelling box.
But it's your box.
It is your box. And it confirms that you, and not the centipede, are at the top of the food chain in your own home.
So what's the takeaway here for you, the listener, if you're still dreaming of that traditional Japanese farmhouse?
I think the deep dive today shows that the romance of the Kaminka comes with some, let's say, profound functional drawbacks. The very things that make it charming, the natural materials, the openness, are what make it a battleground.
And the boring, unromantic, plastic fortress, the Tateyuri, well, that's a practical path to peace. You trade history for control.
Which brings us to the final question the sources really pose to you. It's a choice. How much are you willing to put up with for an aesthetic? How much discomfort, how much, frankly, aggression from the natural world is that beautiful old woodwork?
Do you value the charm of tradition more, or do you value the simple, practical comfort of being able to, sleep alone? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.